In today's class, I will be giving you an overview of what is a DBA, what are the roles and responsibilities of a DBA, who all can become a DBA, and what are the skill set which is required. Okay, so what are the roles and responsibilities. So what are the daily tasks that a DBA need to do. So let's start. Okay, it's a Microsoft product. Okay, I believe you know that.
Yeah.
And SQL stands for Structured Query Language. Okay. It was initially developed by IBM in 1970. So IBM was the developer of this SQL, and originally it was named as SQL, wherein many people continued to pronounce the name that way, and it was shortened to SQL. Both pronunciations are widely used and recognized. See, if you go in the market for an interview as well, after learning it, so if there is a pronunciation, it says it is also actually pronounced as SQL. That is the pronunciation which we do. However, people started pronouncing it as SQL like that. So we pronounce it as SQL now and even as SQL, both ways. Okay. What is a database administrator? Okay, what are the roles and responsibilities? Who is a DBA and what are his tasks? So let's we have a look at that. A database administrator is responsible for the databases for a particular company. They may be responsible for a single database or a number of databases, depending on the size of the company and number of other DBAs involved. So here, primary task of a DBA is to maintain the databases. May it be a single database or it could be number of databases. Actually, it depends from project to project and company to company. Okay. So even we could have a single database or we could have multiple databases in a single company, and based on that they would be hiring a DBA. Wherein if it's a vast environment, there are more number of databases, they would require more number of DBAs. So based on that they would hire. Okay. So it could be a single database or number of databases, depending on the project. Okay. A DBA is usually involved in many areas of the database or set of databases. See, a DBA could be maintaining a single database or more than one database. So there are other responsibilities of database are monitoring the databases as they are running to ensure that they are not overused and are running efficiently. So what does that mean? What as a daily task, what the DBA need to do is they need to monitor the database. For example, any services are failing. For example, there are services, SQL server services that would be running in the background. If any service fails, the database would be shutting down immediately, and no users would be able to access the database. So we need to pay the penalty to the business, to the client. So that would not be a good reputation for us. So the major task of a DBA is to monitor the databases and making sure that it is running efficiently. Okay, and we need to check the space, what are the services which are running smoothly or not. So everything needs to be monitored. There are few tools, internal tools, okay, that would be covered in the future classes. There are internal tools, monitoring tools that would help us in monitoring the databases as well. Okay. Being a database administrator, you need to know how to monitor, set up and perform maintenance of these kind of databases. So as a DBA, we need to know how to monitor, set up and perform maintenance. So maintenance, monitoring and the setup needs to be done by a DBA. So a DBA's responsibility is to monitor, setup and even maintaining the databases. Setup in the sense, they need to know how to install the database as well, and monitoring the database and perform maintenance activities on the databases. The kinds of skills you'll need. So to become a DBA, so these are the skills you require. So users and roles. Okay, this is a separate topic that would be covered in the future class. However, I would just give you an overview. How to create users, privileges, and roles, and how to ensure that the database is secure. So here, like in Windows, we have users, right?
Yeah.
We have username with which we log in, right? And the roles. So users in the sense, we have databases, different databases, with which we would be able to log in. So users and roles are nothing but we would be providing access to the users to the particular database. So we would be getting a request from the users. What happens is in real time, there are ticketing tools which we use, like say Remedy or ServiceNow, or we have CA. So these are the ticketing tools which we use in real time environment. So for they would be sending for the user. What they do is, if example there is a newly joined employee, okay, in the client. So we are supporting a database, right? So there is a new employee, and that user is actually requesting us for a access request. What they do is, they would be in the ticketing tool, they would be entering the username, and they would be sending an email, or through the ticketing tool they would be logging a ticket. So once the ticketing tool is logged, the ticket is logged, we would be getting a request. So what we do is, based on the project, okay, and based on the company process, what we check the process, what exactly it is. If everything is in place, they would be having a separate request form, and we need, in order to provide access to the user, we need business justification, what is the role of that employee, and we would be having an access request form with appropriate business justification, along with the manager's approval. Then only we would be able to provide him the access. This is the DBA part which we have to do. But before we need to make sure that before providing the access, we have all the documents, the request form is properly filled, and we have a proper business justification and manager's approval in place. And another responsibility is installation. A DBA need to know how to install, upgrade, and configure the database based on the requirement or needs of the database. So in real time, what we do is, there are a few situations wherein we go ahead and upgrade the current version of the SQL Server. So we sometimes upgrade from 2005 to 2008, or 2008 to 2012. So this way, we, according to the project requirement, if there is a need, we go ahead and upgrade the SQL Server version, okay, from current version to the upgrade version, and configuring the database. So yeah, and another thing, in real time, if you see, in order to upgrade the version of the SQL Server, there is a proper process. Have you ever heard about change management, IT infrastructure library? So there are few processes which are defined. You go to any IT company, they follow ITIL processes. We have incident, problem, and change management. So change management is a module wherein that is nothing but any changes that are done to the IT environment needs to go to the change management team. So what happens in the change management? We have a set of people, like delivery manager, a change manager, okay. Set of people are involved, wherein they would be checking, why actually we need the upgrade. See, for example, we are going to upgrade the SQL Server version from one version to another version. So first of all, we would be raising a ticket in the ticketing tool, and there would be a change manager. He would be checking if all the documents are in place. So there is a business justification, and what is the need to upgrade, why we have to upgrade. So change manager would be looking in all the aspects, like business aspects as well, like the service wise as well, wherein when we go ahead and upgrade it, if there is no downtime in between, right? Say example, everyone has a bank account, right? So everyone would be using, nowadays it's common wherein everyone has started using online banking, okay, rather than going to the banks. So say we have a website. Okay, now you have in in the midnight, say 12 or 1 a.m. you want to make a transfer. You have to transfer the money. When you log in at that point of time, the website is down and you are unable to log in, right? In the same way, I also have some emergency. I would have to transfer the money, but I am also facing the same problem. Similarly, there are hundreds of customers at that time who are unable to log in. So what happens in this case? This is a huge customer dissatisfaction, right? So I would never go to that bank. Me or yourself would not never go to that bank, right? Rather than you would be going to another bank who has 24/7 online service wherein you would be able to transfer the money, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
So the main motto of the business is customer satisfaction, and business needs to be up and running every time. So what we do is, while doing the upgrade, there should not be any downtime. If there is any downtime, you would not be able to access the website. Are you getting me? So this aspect should be, this aspect would be, reviewed by a change manager. He would be checking if there is any downtime or not. Because if when customers are not able to access the website, how would the customers, continue to have the bank accounts? They would never, go to a bank wherein it doesn't have proper service, right? So rather, going to that bank, I would, me or yourself would never go to, that bank again, because nowadays business actually depends on the customer satisfaction and the service. These are the two prime factors, right? So these all aspects would be, reviewed by a change manager before, making any change to an IT environment. What he checks is, if there is any dependency when we upgrade, if any, other servers are linked to that, or, if any downtime is required when we go ahead and make an upgrade. So this way, this is a change management team who checks with that. Next comes monitoring. How to make sure the database is running smoothly, identifying any issues before they happen and what to do when they happen. Yeah, so while monitoring, a DBA need to know, how to make sure that the database is running smoothly, and when to know if the services are failed and when they happen, and they need to be well trained to know what needs to be done and what would be the next step that they need to know. If anything happens, what would be the next step? They need to be well trained in monitoring. To start with, you would be following either of the following categories, like to be a DBA. So who all? So this is just as an example where who all can go opt for a DBA. So first is when you are a fresher or from a non-IT background, having no or very less knowledge about databases. So a person who is a fresher or a non-IT background professional who have no idea or very less knowledge about the databases can become a DBA. If you are an IT professional but not much experience with the databases, so even they can become a DBA.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And the third one, if you are an IT professional but having good understanding of the databases. So these are the categories, okay, wherein for bottom line is anyone, a person from a non-IT background or maybe from another background, or who doesn't have any knowledge of the databases, even they can opt for a DBA course. See, now whatever category you fall into and whatever experience you have, the good thing is that you can always opt for DBA as a career. Obviously, the more knowledge you have about the databases, so there would be a plus point where as you already learned developer as a SQL developer course, right? So you would be it would be a plus point for you to know that to learn DBA. You would be able to learn it quickly.
Oh yeah.
Provided you need to be confident enough and good practice. So that would really help you a lot. So now we are going to learn what are the SQL Server DBA responsibilities. Installation, administration and maintenance of SQL Server instances. Instance, you might be, you know about instance?
No, actually I don't know.
Instance is nothing but a server. Have you heard about a server? Server, right? So
Yeah,
this is nothing but a, yeah, that is nothing but a server. In DBA, in SQL Server, we call instance as a server. Okay, that's nothing but a server. Setup, test, dev, staging, and production environments. So when you go in real time, when you start working after getting the job, you know, test, development, staging, and production. These are the different environments which we have in real time. Okay, so what they do is, before making any changes in the production environment, what they do is, yeah.
You go ahead, sir. I just disconnected.
Okay, fine. I thought you were on call. So we have a different environment wherein we would be testing that. Okay, so for example, you have done a developer course, right? For example, when you want to test a code, okay, you would be first testing it in a test environment, because that will not have any impact on the business. That is just for testing purpose. So this is production is the environment which has impact in the business. Okay, so before doing any changes in the production, we would be first, you know, making that changes in the test environment. If we are successful in the test environment, then only we would be going ahead and doing that same, you know, change, or, you know, same coding, whatever, you know, we go ahead, and then if it's successful, then only we would be doing the same activity in production in real time. Okay, otherwise there would be a huge critical alert or a high severity ticket which would be, you know, and there would be a severe downtime. Okay. Creating users and assigning permissions based on the level of database access the user would need. See, as I said before, users would be sending us a request for permissions, you know, based on the level. Actually, you know, it depends on the employee, what is his designation as per the project, what are his roles and responsibilities, and, you know, what all database access he can get. So based on that, we would be checking the appropriate request form and appropriate proper business justification and manager's approval. Based on that, we would be processing it, and accordingly we would be providing them the permissions to the databases. Create linked servers to the SQL servers and other databases such as Oracle, Access, and Informix. Linked servers. What is linked server? It is nothing but you would be able to connect to the remote server. You can connect from one server to another server using linked servers, or even you can connect from one kind of server, like for example, say SQL Server to other server databases like Oracle, Access, or Informix, like communicating between one server to another server. Okay, that is nothing but linked server. Design database backup and restoration strategy. Have you ever heard about backup and restoration, Ritesh?
Yeah, means I heard about that.
Yeah, it's very critical. Whenever you know you go for an interview, most of the questions would be on backup and restoration and other concepts as well. But however, it is critical. You know, they would be asking in the interview. Why it is critical is, you know, we have databases in the real time, right? So what we do is we maintain a copy of a backup of a, you know, as a server, as a, you know, we have different types of files. You know, whenever we create a database, there would be two types of files that gets created. Okay, I believe you know that, right? Master data file and log data file, right? .mdf and .ldf. Are you aware of it?
No, actually I didn't know about that.
Yeah, fine. So yeah, however, don't worry. You know, I would cover in future classes as well, you know, for your clear understanding. Okay. So as of now, let's discuss on backup and restoration. What we do is we have a database, right? We would be saving the copy of that database as a backup. Why we maintain it? In case if there is any corruption to the present database. So this is a daily activity as a DBA to take a backup. So once we are into the shift, we would be taking the backup, okay, appropriately. However, previously we used to take it manually, but however nowadays we have agents, SQL Server agent, what it does is, rather than doing it manually at a particular time, we would be able to set up a time wherein at that point of time we can take the backup on daily basis. All by itself it would take the backup rather than taking it manually. Okay, but however our task is just to verify if the backups are taken properly or not. We need to verify that. Once created the database backups, monitor those backups are being performed regularly. So we need to just check if the backups are done correctly or not, or the backup SQL Server agent. This would automate the process of backup and restore. So they take, if go ahead and schedule a job, and if you inform at this point of time, if we go ahead and set up in SQL Server agent, it has to do the job at this point of time. On regular basis, it would take the backup and it would store those backups.
So it does automatically, or you have to do it? Means
we need to initially we need to set up. It is an automation process. Once you go ahead and set up, what happens is in real time.
So it's a robot file, right?
Yeah, what we do is in real time we have to do a backup on a daily basis or a weekly basis or monthly basis. It depends from project to project. So we do it on Monday, Tuesday, on daily basis or weekly basis. Okay, so we go ahead and set up accordingly as per the project needs. So we can't do it blindly. So it depends on the project at what time it needs to be taken. Accordingly, we need to configure it. The SQL Server agent first needs to be configured. Then only once you configure it, on daily basis, it would automatically take the backup. However, our job as a DBA is to monitor those backups if they are being done correctly or not. Okay, got it? First, once you need to configure it. Okay, you need to if SQL Server agent have to do the backup daily or weekly or monthly. If you set it up the appropriate time and the day, it would daily take the backups, and we have to monitor it if it's done correctly or not. Okay. So set up high availability as part of disaster recovery strategy for the databases. So let's I'll just give you an overview. This high availability. Okay, it's a advanced concept wherein at the end of the course we would be learning about it. However, I would just give you an overview of an high availability. So if you see the name itself, it says high availability. That means making the servers available 24/7. Like I gave you an example of a bank, right? We are trying to access the server, but at that point of time we are unable to deposit the money, right? So at that point of time we don't have availability of the server, right? So what we do is in real time we have these strategies like failover clustering, database mirroring, log shipping, and replication. These are all the high availability options wherein, see, I'll explain you clearly. What we do is, for example, I'm in Hyderabad, I'm in India, and you are in United States, right? I'm having a server wherein I'm performing on this server, and what I do is a copy of this server I would be maintaining the same copy in United States.
Okay.
So these are all those options. These are different options with which we would be able to save a copy in a different location. So what we do is, for example, if there is any natural calamities like any cyclones or any natural calamities or earthquakes. Recently you might have heard about Chennai, right? There were huge floods in Chennai in India, right? So at that point of time, even the IT companies were not able to work, right? So at that point of time, what we do is we maintain. See, as in India there were floods, right? So but however, I have maintained another copy in United States, right? So what I do is I would be routing it to another server. Okay, as there is a shutdown, what we do is we temporarily provide services with another backup server which is maintained in another location. Are you getting me?
Okay. Yeah.
So like as I said, right, we were unable to access the website, right? So at that point of time we would be routing it to another standby server. So that would be the secondary server would become a primary. Okay. So we would be running the business so that there would be no downtime. The advantage of this is there would be no downtime. Okay, we can maintain both the servers. So if there is any emergency, if any disaster, that is the reason it is known as disaster recovery strategy. In case of any disaster, we would be using the secondary server. Okay, got it. So these are the options: database mirroring, log shipping, replication, and clustering. So these are the different ways of maintaining another standby server. Okay, however, there are few advantages and disadvantages, so that we would be learning in future classes.
Okay.
Troubleshoot various problems that arise in day-to-day work and fix the issues. So monitoring SQL Server logs and checking your email alert. As a DBA, we need to monitor the SQL Server and the error logs as well. Error logs are something that helps us in troubleshooting the daily tickets which we get, or daily problems that we face. You can go to the error log and it would record each and every activity of the SQL Server, and that would help you in troubleshooting. And checking your email alert. In database, SQL Server database, we would be able to even automate an alert. If something goes wrong, it would generate an alert into our mailbox, so that we would be able to know what exactly went wrong. Okay, that also needs to be configured like SQL Server agent. Okay. Monitoring and performance tuning, server level, database level, creating and maintaining indexes, and performing database shrinking.
So many stuff to do as a DBA.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll help you out. It's quite simple. Okay, when you would be saying it's that easy. One more thing, you're saying, right, you don't know about Windows. However, if you see Windows is very easier. If you go for Oracle, you need to know Linux as well. Wherein if you go to SQL,
in Microsoft, it's a BI developer, right?
Yeah, that is a different concept. You learned BI developer, is it?
No, actually I learned Oracle, means BI developer in Oracle, means as a PLSQL developer.
Okay. Oh, yes, Oracle PLSQL, yeah. So, what happens is,
Microsoft, it's TLSQL, right?
Yeah, TSQL, Transact SQL, yeah. So, see, once we are done with this theory, I would, share my screen and I would be letting you know step by step. It's very simple. You would be getting interest to learn it. So don't worry about that. So you are getting afraid seeing this, it's to learn. So don't worry about that. Okay, I'll guide you step by step what needs to be done. Okay.
Okay, thank you, boy.
No problem. So these are the daily activities. Once you are into the job, so at that point of time, these are the simple tasks that needs to be done. Monitoring the CPU usage, or database shrinking needs to be performed or not, and creating the indexes. Indexes here are nothing but, see, for example, we have a textbook, and in order to go to that page, what we do, we have indexes directly, the same way. Here also we have indexes. See, documenting major changes to the SQL servers. So these are nothing but the changes that are done to the IT environment. As I said, it would be going to the change management before making any changes to the IT environment, and applying service packs. These are nothing but the changes that needs to be done if any issues are there. It depends. So let's talk about SQL Server versions. SQL Server 2000, SQL Server 2005, SQL Server 2008, SQL Server 2008. This is an upgraded version which is released to SQL Server 2012, SQL Server 2014, SQL Server 2016. Okay, so these are the different versions. The first one, which is SQL Server 2000. So nowadays it's about to become obsolete. Later on, Microsoft will not be providing any support, and real time mostly we would be using 2005, 2008. If you go for an interview also, they would be asking you the questions of 2005, 2008 as well. And the current version which is running is SQL Server 2016. However, SQL Server 2000 have become an obsolete, and in future there would be no support to SQL Server 2000. So let's quickly check on SQL Server components. What all components we have? It's SQL Server Database Engine, SQL Server Configuration Manager. Okay, SQL Server Profiler, SQL Server Tuning Advisor, SQL Server Agent, SQL Server Integration Services, Analysis and Reporting Services. So let's go one by one. With help of SQL Server Database Engine, that help you to select appropriate database to log in. Okay, and the next is SQL Server Configuration Manager. What we do is, there are few services that are related to SQL Server, and those servers can be started, stopped, or we can even restart. So all the SQL Server services can be controlled by SQL Server Configuration Manager. Next is SQL Server Profiler. So you would be able to see the SQL Server's performance using SQL Server Profiler. And next comes SQL Server Tuning Advisor. So what happens is, we can tune the database in so that it would be, there is an execution plan that is internally executed. So we can tune the database so that it can execute quickly. It would take less time to execute. And the next is SQL Server Agent. Okay, as I said, for the backups to automate, we have SQL Server Agents. Once we go ahead and configure it, it would take the backups automatically. Okay, and SQL Server Integration, Reporting and Analysis Services. These are used by developer. Okay, not by DBA. As I said, right, you the concept wherein we maintain another database of a copy of a database in another location, right? So these are those concepts in high availability or disaster recovery, you can say. We have log shipping, replication, mirroring, always on, and clustering. Let me tell you one thing. These are the 5 concepts. If you go for an interview, or you put an experience certificate as well, mostly the questions would be asked on these topics. Okay.
Okay.
So these are just the techniques. See, we maintain a server in another location, right? These are just a different way of maintaining the server. That's it. It has its own advantages and disadvantages. Okay. So from version to version, it got introduced. Okay. These are the high availability concepts. So yeah, that's all for today. So yeah, Ritesh, tell me, do you have any doubts you were able to understand, or what exactly? Let me know.
Actually, I was seeing that what is SSIS and SSRA?
Yeah.
Yeah, means what is that? Means I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I'll tell you. SQL Server Integration Services. I'll tell you. Wait. This one, right? SQL Server Integration Services. SQL Server RS means SQL Server Reporting Services, and SQL Server SSAS means SQL Server Analysis Services. Okay, these are the components of SQL Server. However, as a DBA, we do not require these services. If you learn .NET, right, we use Oracle SQL as a backend also, right, to develop, right, for SharePoint as well. So these components are not used by a DBA. However, these are used by a developer to develop the websites. Okay, are you getting me? Like, yeah, so we have SQL Server. We use SQL as backend to .NET, right? So in that case, we would be using these services. Are you getting me?
Yeah, I am getting it.
Okay, any other doubts? Let me know, Ritesh. I'll clarify.
And I have to how I have to install the on the Windows right now.
Sure. Listen, yeah, Ritesh, I'll tell you. I have a sequence of classes, and even the basic steps I would let you know. I would install it my PC, and I would be letting you know step by step, wherein you can later on you can work it out on your computer. If any doubts, you can let me know. I'll take you through sequence wise, very basic steps, wherein you would be able to learn about Windows as well. If you have any doubts about Windows as well, you can ask. Okay, so I would be clearing that as well. So don't worry. Installation and how all you need to continue each and every step, I would be guiding you step by step. Don't worry about that. Okay.
And if I want to start as a fresher, it's going to be easy as a DBA?
Yes, of course. Compared to develop a PL SQL, DBA is an easier option to learn, and it is graphical. The best part is if you go for SQL DBA, it's a graphical user interface, so it is very easy to learn. So yeah, so don't worry. So even if you have doubts with the Windows, you can ask me anytime, and even SQL about, I will let you know how to install, what are the features in it, what are the challenges which you face. And one more important thing, no trainer would be explaining you about the real-time scenarios. At the end of the course, I would be letting you know like what are the issues that you get, what are the issues that you face in real time, how you troubleshoot those issues. Okay, like a 4 years experienced guy, you would, once you are done with the course, you would be able to know the issues of a 4 years experienced guy in an IT environment. So I would be providing you on all the troubleshooting steps, how we troubleshoot in the real time, what all issues we get, how we go ahead and troubleshoot it step by step by end of this course. That is a good thing.